Welcome to Midweek Motivation. My name is Gabe Kolstad, and I'm here with Nancy Castile, and we're excited to hang out and follow up from our talk this last weekend at Westside on peace of mind and heart. Yeah.
So, and it's funny because, you guys have seen me before, and I work as a psychologist and coach in town, and am a regular Westsider. And I had to laugh, though, because, of course, you might think, well, that's logical that she would be asked to come and chat with you on peace of mind and heart.
Yeah.
But it is funny because, going into the holiday season, as a self-employed person who works with people and not a product, when you go buy a product, they're not going to give it to you unless you pay.
Right.
But as somebody who works with people, a lot of times paying me is on the back burner.
Okay. For
in the Christmas
yeah.
Because people's money is being taxed a lot. Their financial resources are being taxed a lot. So I know that I'm scrambling this week and kind of I got to pay mortgage. I got to pay this and that. And then our washing machine died last night.
Oh no.
So it was funny because I was thinking, peace of mind and heart.
So you weren't having your Zen moment when the washing machine died?
No, with the really, really, really wet towels that are just sopping right now, and got to figure out how we're going to get those dried out. And buy a new washer dryer at Christmas season, which is not the time when I'd like to do that. But yeah, so I was thinking, how am I going to talk about being at peace in my mind and heart?
Yeah. Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode.
Boy, I really liked your sermon on Sunday, and if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, you absolutely should. It was very good.
Thank you. It was a fun day, and one of the things that happened, I don't know if you remember toward the end of the service when we went back into music after the teaching, it was kind of a tearjerker of a song. And as we were preparing for that in the morning on Sunday, it just suddenly dawned on me that we're going to be opening a door that we need people are going to need time to process. Right?
Yeah.
So we kind of scrambled at the last minute to figure out how do we make sure there's time for people to process this emotion that might be coming up as we're talking about. The song was a Toby Mac song called "If Christmas Hits Different."
Yeah.
If Christmas hits different this year, and man, it seems like Christmas is hitting different this year for a lot of people, and it might be a tough season for peace of mind and heart. So
I think it's a tough time for a lot of people. I think, especially we see all the movies and we see all the wonderful stuff. And for a lot of people, family or things that have happened, strife, anything, there's always times, we just don't live in a Hallmark Christmas movie. We don't. We live in life.
Yeah.
And so I think
more like Home Alone.
Something
like that.
More like Home Alone. Yeah. But we have to. All the more that we have to decide. We have to make a decision for how we're going to live with peace in our mind and heart.
Yeah.
Especially right now. And I say especially right now only because I love the Christmas season. And so, and I love it because I love putting up the tree, and what I always say is I like the sights and the smells of Christmas.
Yeah.
I love the fragrances of Christmas. Because I love pine. I love, various kind of, pine fragrances. And I love ornaments, and I love, just
the smell of presents.
The smell of presents. No, the presents are cool, but I love giving presents, and people are always like, "What do you want?" I'm like, I don't know, but I love having people over. I just love all of that.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I know last night when Matt and I were realizing that the washer and dryer were kaput, that was anything but peace in my mind.
I think we are all realizing that no matter who you are, you can't. Your circumstances are not going to give you that Christmas feeling, ever, right?
They're not.
At least not enduring.
They're not going to give it to you. I think it's choice.
Yeah.
To get into that spirit.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome perspective, and it's no surprise to me that you'd be coming to talk about that as a coach. To go, you got to make a choice.
You do.
If you want peace of mind and heart, you got to make a choice.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, everything in life, we make choices constantly, and every time you make a choice, the reality is you're not choosing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's times, and a lot of people tend to be, they make the choice and then they're looking over here at what I didn't choose or what I didn't end up or what I'm giving
like a sense
up.
of loss almost.
Yeah. Exactly. But where we need to really focus our eyes and our energy on what we are choosing, on one hand, if we're actively saying we're making a choice. Now, something else we have to remember too, in terms of keeping and maintaining and having peace in our mind and heart, is if we live in circumstances or we have things that are going on, or if we're in situations that suck, and we choose to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's an interesting thing. I didn't say, if we do nothing, we are still choosing to do nothing. And you may not necessarily know what to do in a situation. And even if you can change your perspective in a situation,
mm-hmm.
you can change your attitude. You can make changes even if you can't physically make a change. I was talking with a woman through one of our programs at the church that I help with, which is the Explorers program, which if you see any of those signs that say He Gets Us, or
mm-hmm.
or the Super Bowl
Billboard
commercial,
or something, yeah.
Or on Facebook, it's like Churches Care, and people can write in the community, and then those come through to the various churches that are cooperating with that. And Westside has a team, and I lead that team. And I was working a lot with one woman this week who had over the weekend, last weekend, she had left her home with her child because of some dynamics that were not healthy for her.
Sure.
In that situation. And she had reached out within that program, and I was working with her, and, I helped her to get hooked up to some things, but she made some choices that were really healthy, but really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then she actually, by the end of the week, had decided, because she had come to some of her own realizations of her part in some things, that she was going to go back. But she was going to go back with a different frame of mind, different perspective. So it wasn't like, it was just a very
being
interesting.
very proactive, it sounds like.
Very proactive. Yeah. I was so impressed by this woman. And that was truly, I saw kind of her growth over even just a week in terms of peace of mind and peace in her mind and peace in her heart, but making choices versus choosing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So even if your circumstances haven't visibly changed dramatically, because again, she went back, but she went back with a different frame of mind in her, as far as what she was going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And we can do that. We all can do that. I was thinking about a couple of things. You mentioned on Sunday, peace is like a shell. It can feel like a shell game sometimes, where you're like, which one is it under? And I know it's here someplace. I just know. But I think, is it really a this or that? Like, is it really, I want to find peace, either that or I'm like in turmoil? Mm-hmm. Because I think one of the decisions to make in life is, can I have life circumstances occurring and still hold on to some contentment, or hold on to some joy, hold on to a foundational peace, hold on to my relationship with the Lord, hold on to the fact that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Even if I'm technically alone, meaning some other human being isn't right with me, I always have my relationship with God, and that I'm not alone. I mean, there is, you can say it so far, but so better than I can, that I can be walking through life and still have life occurring.
Yeah.
But be at peace within the midst of it.
Yeah. I think of that like, the storm is happening. Jesus is saying to the disciples in the New Testament, peace be still, but even before that, he was already, this is the crazy thing to me, he was already at peace before he calmed the storm for the disciples to be at peace. He was already at peace.
Yep.
And that's fascinating to me. And I think that's maybe the more I grow, the more I want to be like that, where I don't have to see the calmness on the sea in order to have peace, because I know he's there and he's going to do it.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, I think the beauty of getting older is you live through things and you realize you live through either life events, a death of somebody close, or failures or whatever, and you learn that you still come out on the other side.
Yeah.
That you can learn a lot about yourself, or you can choose to put blinders on and not gain any knowledge that brings you into the next events in life in a better way. If you don't fail, you're not trying.
Yeah.
You're not trying things that are going to push you. I hope people are, so one of the things I was going to talk to you about is, and it comes back to that idea of failing. So I'll come back to that in half a second. When you talked about on Sunday, that idea of, a lot of society looks for peace to come from the outside into us. So our circumstances, are our circumstances really good? Are they exactly what we want? Or, whatever, do I have the right guy? Do I have the, or girl, do I have the right house? Do I have the, and especially in this point of all the social media comparisons and everything, we will set ourselves up to be in strife forever if we are looking to have the outside world bring us in inner peace. And so you were talking about how peace really needs to come from the inside out. And the way I think about that too is like and I've used this term before. If you haven't heard the podcast when Gabe and I have chatted before, you can go back to those where we talk about like your locus of control. And that's kind of your center of control. Like, so when we're born, our locus of control is completely externalized because we won't survive without those beings that are caring for us. And slowly but surely, hopefully, what a role of parenthood is to help internalize that person's locus of control, to be with them through dark emotions, to help them walk through those in order to build that sense of things can happen to me outside, but I am still going to be okay. And that I have a certain amount of control over things, or at least I have a certain amount of control over how I will be amidst things that happen. And so we want to internalize that locus of control. So you come back and what we know about people that, if you grow up in an alcoholic family, or, you have an alcoholic parent or something like that, alcoholic families, basically it's funny, the alcoholic or somebody who's an addict who's raising kids, oftentimes there is probably subconsciously a tendency to not have those children have a great internalized sense of control, because they can't, they don't know. It's not predictable what's going to happen with mom or dad or whoever it is.
So always responding to the circumstances around them. Yes,
exactly. So the external part is always dictating how you are. So it's even more so important to, as an adult, figure out how are you going to internalize your own locus of control. And then we go back to that failure comment that we were talking about a second ago. People who have a more externalized locus of control will avoid doing anything that even has the slightest hint of failure, because again, you don't have enough built up that says, even if I fail, I'm okay. And so I want to say today, like, one of the things you can do to make this holiday season 2024 more peaceful in your mind, more peaceful in your heart, is to step outside of that fear of failure and try things that you're not sure you'll succeed at, and learn if you don't succeed, or you're not as good at something, even though you tried it. There's two things that can happen. One, if you don't succeed, think about it afterward. Use some self introspection and think about, well, okay, so this is the place, these are the places, these are the reasons why I failed, and these are what I can do to help that and not fail the next time. But the other piece is I think a whole lot of times you're going to find that you're not the only one who struggles to do some certain things. And actually, when you're doing something, and if there's other people around, people are there to help you, and people want to help, or you might actually just find that you succeed.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
There is always that, but you think you won't.
Yeah.
Especially, I see that so much with people in social situations. If they have a fear of how they're looked upon, and that's so. It's huge right now.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
maybe that's part of
media.
the problem with this part of this time of year and like this time in history is you feel like you're always on display, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you own, how you celebrating Christmas, all this stuff. And that is just so difficult, I think, for people to deal with. But I love the idea of building some of that internal peace by taking responsibility for how you're perceiving things and who you are. And
Absolutely.
Now you think about this stuff a lot, and you have really great thoughts about it. I know you brought a little bit of a list today of what are some of the choices that we could make.
So if you don't feel like you have as internalized a sense of your space, your place in this world, and your sense of control in your inner peace and your circumstances, really, then some things you can do. First of all, spend some time with yourself and really think about, I want you to define your values, your personal beliefs, your identity. Actually take some time to ponder that kind of thing. What's important to you? What do you value in terms of personal characteristics, honesty, integrity? I mean, what are the things that are important to you, so that you know those. Okay, so what beliefs do you have that are something that is super strong to you? Who do you want to be? Okay. Who do you want to portray? How do you want people to know you? Okay, then let's start thinking about the choices you make every day. So become aware of those choices and accept those choices that you make, including the choice of inaction, unless once you think about your beliefs and your values, if you go like, holy crap, I'm not doing anything to change that relationship with my family or whatever it is, I'm not going home at night and putting any energy into my spouse. It's all going to my kids, or, something like that. Then you go like, oh, whoops, maybe that needs to change because I'm not living congruently with my values and my beliefs. So good. Which
is probably why, if you're not feeling peace, that's actually probably why.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Because it's like dissonance. It's like, it just doesn't feel right inside. It's going to, and the funny thing is so many times we look to others and go like, well, if you would do this, if you would, and one of the things we need to come to is, wait a second, if I want that from them, am I bringing that to the table? Is that the person who's showing up?
Yeah. Because
if I want somebody to be fun to be around, and I want someone to like giggle with me, and I want someone to, whatever it is, then I need to bring that. That doesn't mean it's going to be like hunky dory every night or every day or in every relationship, but you can show up. If you show up that way, you've made a choice, and that choice can be infectious. Okay, we can bring negativity, and we can really infect a whole lot of people. We can be infectious for the good or for the bad. We can choose to, and my goal would be that we all choose to be infectious and to spread like an amazing, loving energy this Christmas.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's so funny because when I think of the word peace, there's this part of me that goes back to, I don't know, some story I read or maybe some movie I saw or something, but I see this like Tibetan monk, top of a mountain in a temple. In meditation state and totally by himself. not a care in the world, no chaos, and it's like that for me becomes almost this unconscious way I think about peace, but peace is active.
Peace is so active.
Right. And so I have
what
to
you have to realize
erase
is
that.
having been to Nepal twice, not with Tibetan monks, but with monks in Nepal, they are chanting. They are like
It's active
doing
as well. Yeah.
It's very active.
Yeah.
And their peace is something they are cultivating constantly. And it's something we can cultivate too. We don't think about that. I mean, how can you, what could you do? So another thing I think about holidays is we get together with family that we don't necessarily always see. Or we have multiple days of family events and we can let's be infectious in that. And one of the ways to be infectious is just simply to be interested, bring your undivided attention.
That's great.
Yeah. And I know it sounds so cliche. Leave your cell phone in your purse or at the door. Don't turn it on. But really, think about it. When somebody gives us undivided attention, we feel special.
Yeah.
And we can give that as a gift. We don't think of that as like,
it takes
tie
hard,
that up with a bow.
Maybe not for everybody, but for me, it takes hard work to get to that point because I have to think about the conversations I'm going to have, and I have to.
Oh,
and
a
so
little more introverted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I got to think about like, okay, well, what am I going to? I actually have to plan this out in my head.
But if you are on the fly. And Gabe, I know you must be all the time. I mean, as a lead pastor of a church, you can go anywhere around. Oh, sorry, that was my phone. I didn't turn it off. I should have. But you can go anywhere around this area and people are going to recognize you.
Yeah.
And so in a heartbeat, you couldn't have planned what will I say to everybody.
No, so I mean,
and so one thing you can always do is ask about other people.
Absolutely.
Ask
I love
them
that.
about them.
Yeah.
Because, and I hate to say this is not to say like we as humans are just like conceited and selfish, but people love to have people interested in who they are. And so if you don't know what to say in a situation, just say, how are you? I always say to my teenagers when they I don't know what to talk about with other, if they say they have some social anxiety at school, I don't know what to talk about. I'm like, well, listen, on Monday and Tuesday, you always got surefire questions. What'd you do last weekend? On Thursday and Friday, you always have, what are you going to do this weekend? So really, you're just stuck with Wednesday. What in the world are you going to talk about on Wednesday? I don't know. Good. But at least, so maybe you're quiet on Wednesday. But you always have at least a lead in.
Yeah.
And you could say, how has your year been? I mean, you can use really small things. I love I love your outfit. I love, just people like to know that they're being noticed because we want to be known. Human beings need attention and we're going to get it one way or the other.
True.
So why not give it to somebody and just say, gosh, I haven't seen you in so long and it is so wonderful to see you. And if you just take time and slowness in your speech and eye contact with somebody, even if it's hard, it will pay off exponentially.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about that on Sunday, and one of the inhibitors for that kind of focus in a moment is you're worried about the past, you're worried about the future, whatever.
Live in the present.
Oh, yeah. So what kind of other action, what are some of the other choices that you think we could be making this Christmas season to feel a little more peace?
Well, I mean, please try not to measure up in terms of gifts and the whole commercialization of Christmas, because really ultimately give an experience, make a memory with somebody, ask somebody out for coffee, devote time. Give some coupons. I don't know, coupons to somebody. If you don't have any money, make something up that says
like those books that you make up.
Exactly. You can just make something up. I mean, but really, you're just spending time with that, and not what have I not done or what am I not doing? How am I not measuring up? But how am I? How am I coming into this moment? How am I choosing to be? Today, spend those first few minutes when you first wake up every morning. You know, what we know, the research shows, if you spend a couple of minutes right when you wake up, and I've said this before, and you decide, what do I want my day to be like? What is in my path today, and how do I want to approach it? Can change the whole tenor of your day. So it's making choices to be in it versus fighting it.
Good. That's good. Wow. Okay.
Well, and that can be in the traffic versus fighting the traffic, you know? And so, you know, yeah. And maybe you don't have to go to the store and buy one more present. Maybe you have enough. Maybe you don't have to worry, is your table perfect? Or is the meal going to be, you know, ideal?
Yeah.
Maybe it just will be what it is. And that's okay.
I kind of hear you saying that part of peace is discovering what your real limitations are.
I'm so sorry.
It's just the train. We got a train that goes by.
Yeah, exactly.
Discovering what your real limitations are and being okay with that. Like one of those at Christmas time, I think is important. Money. When you're out of money, stop buying gifts.
Stop buying gifts.
Because that just leads to more stress later.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you give somebody something versus 3 things, it just give something with love. Or don't give anything and give an experience. You know, can we go for a walk together? Can we go for a walk? I would love to take you out for a coffee and go for a walk. Yeah. And give somebody their undivided attention, you know? Or you could say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to get you anything because it's just a tougher time this year. Yeah. And who is going to say anything back about that?
Some people would resonate with that, I think.
Oh my goodness, yes. And really just being joyful in interactions.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Super helpful
Savor
stuff.
moments.
Yeah.
Savor the moments you have this Christmas with yourself too. Because again, so much of it is we compare ourselves to other people. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel adequate. We don't, you know, the Joneses have more, you know, I mean, just whatever it is. And yeah, put on that old Christmas sweater or whatever it is. Put on that old whatever you have and be okay. Be yourself, because maybe you are just enough, and walk with God. Live more Christ-like. That's what I think about that every single solitary day.
That's good. How to have a Merry Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah. Love
That's
it.
my hope for everybody.
Thanks for sharing, Nancy.
You're very welcome. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like, and consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.